Ken and his comrades, as you have said, did not commit murder. Please take it from me. What happened was that the Nigerian state decided we are going to deal with Mossop, led by Ken. And the only way we can do it to allow Shell to continue to exploit your resources without any reaction, no objection, is to take the leaders for murder. The state decided the Abacha murderous junta had one Paul Okutimo, the head of task force. They, the Nigerian state, got young people, instigated by them, paid by them, to kill the 4 leaders, Kobani and others. It was the Nigerian state that killed them. What do you do? Before any commencement of investigation, Paul Como, the then governor of the state, military governor, said publicly, we are going to hold Ken and other Mossop leaders for the murder that took place in Gyoko. Do you understand it? They were not there. Their own boys killed the leaders, the 4 leaders. But the governor announced, we are going to hold leaders vicariously liable. There is no vicarious liability in a criminal offense. You commit an offense, you are dealt with. You cannot hold me responsible for the alleged offense of my son or daughter. That's not the law. But that was what happened in this case. We got the tape at the trial. We were going to tender it to say this trial was, you want to kill these people in a premeditated manner. And so we applied to tender the tape. And this was the defining moment for the tribunal, a special military tribunal. They initially charged them before a high court. When they knew there was no way they could get a conviction, they had to withdraw and set up a special military tribunal. So when we offer to tender, we apply to tender the tape, the tribunal rose to consider and consult. And they were told, if you allow that tape to go in, that is the end of our case. And so, a straightforward application. The tribunal ruled that the tape will not be allowed. In fact, I remember the chairman, Justice Auta, telling me publicly, Mr. Falana, this is not O.J. Simpson's trial. This is Nigerian trial. In other words, you cannot tender all you have like O.J. Simpson's trial in America. We left that. We have 3 witnesses paid by Shell, 3, to give false testimony against Ken and others. The 3 came to Lagos, went to Chief Fawemi's chamber. Please, we were paid. We were also promised jobs if we can implicate Ken and other 8 Ogoni leaders in respect of the killing that took place in Ogoni land. Are you sure? They say yes. Okay, no problem. They swore to affidavits of what Shell did to them. There was no counter affidavit. Nobody challenged their testimony, which was in writing, in an affidavit form. We tendered them to the tribunal. The tribunal said, well, this is not the first time that people are changing their story. Get Shell to deny this allegation. Shell could not. Shell paid the senior lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria, to be in the court, to watch the proceedings and protect his interest, We then say, what is your interest in the killing of Ogoni people? What is the interest of Shell other than to ensure that Ken and others were executed? Why we were not allowed to give evidence, to tender all the necessary documents? Ken and others said, and the government was all over the world. When the government was being challenged, you are planning to kill these people. They are not getting fair trial. Why are you not using the regular court? Why are you using a special military tribunal? And the government was telling the whole world, including the United Nations. Ken and others are being defended by the two leading human rights advocates in Nigeria, Femi and Falana. So we're giving them the best of trial. It was at that stage Ken and others said, Gani, Femi, it is clear these people have made up their mind. They don't want us to even defend ourselves. Practically, I think we should withdraw. So we withdrew. The government engaged its own set of lawyers. Because in a murder case, you must have a lawyer. What happened? Those government lawyers were also frustrated from defending Ken and others. Again, they had to withdraw. Now, please listen to this. Under their own law, Civil Disturbances Decree number 2 of 1987, Section 7. If anybody was convicted, the record of proceedings, the judgment and the entire record must be sent to the Provisional Ruling Council then, headed by Abacha. The purpose was that the members of the PRC will consider the judgment and all the supporting documents, including this rejection of our evidence, and then find out whether they should confirm the sentence. Ken and others were convicted on 30th of October. We were then looking for a copy of the judgment to make a representation, to tell the FPRC why it was impossible to ratify the judgment. The judgment was not ready. On November 8th, when the PRC met, the judgment was not ready. The proceedings were not transmitted. When they now took their decision that we have ratified, there was no basis for it. Of course, on the 10th, almost like a joke, Ken and other 8 most top leaders were executed. We made the whole world to read what happened in the tribunal. The whole world. In November, you had the Commonwealth of Nations meeting in Australia, I think. They read our report and the report of Michael Babon, QC, who was sent by the Law Society of England to stay in and watch the entire proceeding. He also compiled a report. By the time we made this report available to leaders of the Commonwealth, they came to the irresistible conclusion that what happened in Port Harcourt was a judicial murder. Beyond that, they took a decision to send. No, the meeting was going on. I'm missing it. The meeting was going on when the confirmation was announced. So the Commonwealth set up a panel headed by the late Nelson Mandela to travel to Abuja to persuade Abacha not to execute, not to carry out the execution. As soon as that panel was set up, the Abacha's foreign minister, Tommy Kiming, quickly called Abacha. A high-power delegation led by Nelson Mandela will land in Abuja any moment from now. And they are going to prevent us from killing Ken and others. Because Shell was also in cahoot with the criminal gang in Abuja. And so they move. Because they knew that once Mandela, at that time, having regards to his position in the world, coming to Abuja to say, please, you cannot kill Ken and Northern, the hands of the government will be tied. And that was what led to that rush, mad rush, to kill Ken and Northern. And of course, the Commonwealth took the decision that for this grave oppression, grave insult to the entire world and the Commonwealth, we are suspending Nigeria. And that was why Nigeria was suspended from the Commonwealth until the end of military rule. The point I'm making, therefore, is like Ken said, they only kill his physical body. His ideas remain with us. And that is why we are gathered here today. And Ken has also proved the point. That it's not how long you live, but how well you live your life. And that is the lesson we must all take home today. Now, what we can have done if we were alive today is to demand accountability. And that's where I'm going in my paper. You have no business with poverty. People of Nigeria Delta have no business with poverty. We should live a life of prosperity based on your wealth. And that is why this brutal exploitation must stop. We must rise from here. Collectively, we must resolve today that the question of light, question of water, job for your young people, factories in your areas will have to be a serious matter for negotiation with the government. Both the Rivers State government